Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to say these words at the World Tourism Forum Institute. Tourism has been one of the biggest casualties of COVID. Along with all the tragic loss of life, there's been a huge slump in worldwide trade and in particular in worldwide tourism. So what's happened is that those millions and millions of people that used to take it for granted to go on holiday, that used to provide employment for people, allow those people who were employed to feed their families, allow countries to get foreign exchange, all of that has been severely impacted by the COVID crisis. And we can't even be sure that it's over yet. So it's the right moment to look at what we can do and need to do in order to try and revive the tourism industry in the interest of the people that work there, of the people that enjoy tourism, and of the countries that desperately need it to support their economies. Over these past months, my institute has published a number of papers whose purpose is designed to make international travel and international exchange much more easily. So one thing that we need to do is to make sure that we start to agree some common rules around how we get a travel pass that allows people to use this proof and verification of testing status or vaccination status anywhere in the world. If we end up with a whole lot of different countries having different systems, different continents using different systems, it's going to be far harder to get that confidence back into the system that allows people to travel again well. Secondly, we've said that there's bound to be a distinction between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Now, sometimes people object to this, and as I'll say in a moment, it should be the duty of the wealthier countries of the world to make sure that vaccines are distributed to the poorest parts of the world. But again, we've got to be realistic. If we want tourism to begin again, we need to have a system where you can verify your vaccination, and we need to be able, in circumstances where it's obviously going to make a difference to the tourist industry, to be able to show people that vaccination has taken place and taken place on a basis that's properly credentialed. Otherwise, we'll end up in a situation where people are reluctant to travel because they may be reluctant to be in a place where others aren't vaccinated, or alternatively, it'll just be far harder to get confidence back into the system as a whole. The third thing that we need to do is indeed to make sure that we get those vaccines flowing from the wealthier parts of the world to the poorer parts. I understand the wealthy countries will want to vaccinate their own populations first, but we have a situation where today, as my institute showed in its recent report, if we really wanted to, we could vaccinate at least the vulnerable, the main urban centers, and the frontline healthcare workers the world over in 2021 and complete the vaccination of the global population by the end of 2022. This should be a big priority of the international summits, G7, G20, and the United Nations system. And finally, we've got to try and bring together the main players in the tourist industry so that policymakers know exactly what are the issues and the problems the tourism industry is facing. And the policymakers then have an obligation to try and prevent the confusion and chaos that has reigned far too often over these past months. Countries chopping and changing their criteria for travel, people not sure of whether if they do travel, they can then come back into their country safely, and with no agreed set of standards or principles operating to give people the confidence to invest in the tourist industry or even to keep their businesses going. In the end, tourism is a vital part of our global economy. We estimate that as many as 100 million jobs could be at risk globally as a result of the fall in tourist trade. So this is an urgent priority. It's something that should dominate the minds of policymakers and leaders when they come together. And it's something that should encourage those in the industry, as are gathered at the Forum Institute, to try and focus on what's really going to make a difference and bring clarity to a situation that has caused so much concern and confusion. In the end, tourism has been for many people over these past years a source of revenue, a source of pleasure, a source of employment, a source of cultural exchange. It's an important part of what can make our world a better place to live in. So right now, at this moment, we have uncertainty with the future path of COVID. We hope it will come to an end soon, but we can't be sure. And every time there's a new variant that arises, that uncertainty returns. What is necessary, therefore, is to try and bring at least as much certainty as we can to an uncertain situation by agreeing a set of standards and principles from the industry and from policymakers. And that's the plea I make to you today at this Forum Institute gathering. Thank you very much, and the very best of luck with all your endeavors.